All right, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, MMA Joey is a dumb MMA YouTuber who has roughly 10,000 subscribers, okay? And I know some of you might be sick of me talking about him, but whenever I don't have any content or anything to talk about, I go and I skim through his videos to find out what ridiculous thing he has said since the last time I checked his channel, okay? This guy is unbelievably intellectually dishonest. First of all, he's completely disingenuous. He is way too progressive, and somehow has warped his mind enough to believe that the points he is making is not the mainstream, and that he is making these points being stunning and brave, knowing that he is going to get absolutely obliterated for these takes. And then you go and you look through his comment section, and it completely debunks what he says in that regard because they all agree with him, which is concerning to me. Okay, because in my opinion, progressivism ruins many, 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 many things, including sport. I believe we have seen this in multiple professional sports leagues, such as the NBA, the NHL, things like this. And I don't want it to happen to our sport because without these dumb progressives, our sport is probably one of the most diverse sports in the entire world, maybe aside from football, and I mean real football, not American football. But he just continuously makes these horrible points and again acts like they're not the mainstream and that he is being stunning and brave by calling it out. The first one that I did or that I covered was him talking about why people don't like Israel Adesanya, and he does this trick, and he did it again in this video where he will come up with 3, 4, 5 reasons as to why somebody might not like a particular fighter. Then the last, but he will also debunk those though. He will say, "Well, I don't think this really holds water because of this, and this reason." And then he gets to the last point, which is always a progressive narrative talking point: racist and homophobia, racism and homophobia. Okay, dude. Well, I didn't know I could be homophobic towards a straight guy. Okay, that's quite strange. But also, it's just, and then he'll say, if you deny these, you might be that thing, right? So he'll give you a few reasons, debunk them, and then he'll give you the final bullshit reason, which is a progressive talking point, and then he will say that there's no argument against this. Now, I don't know what percentage he'll say of people don't like Israel Adesanya or the next guy who I'm about to talk about. I don't know the percentage of people that don't like them because of that, but if you're not going to admit that there are people that don't like him because of that, then you might need a psychiatrist. Okay, well, I'll reiterate, MMA Joey, you need a dietitian. You need a personal trainer. You should not be telling anybody what they need in regards to their mental health or their physical health. Okay, so buddy, we got to stop that. Okay, now before we get into it, please like and subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it, dude. It's my son Odin's birthday today. We got in-laws coming over. Unfortunately, I will be inactive for the next couple days, so I do apologize for that. Now let's get right into it, dude. So he does one. He does another one. Another progressive talking point regarding Bilal Muhammad. The real reason why Bilal Muhammad does not get respect, okay? And he gives 4 or 5 reasons as to why people say that they don't like Bilal. And then he gives the final reason, which he supplies no counter argument, no devil's advocate side for, just says, if you don't agree with this, you are basically that thing, okay? And he says that the reason Bilal Muhammad does not get the respect he deserves is because of Islamophobia. Next, we'll be hearing that the reason why Johnny Hendricks didn't get the respect he deserves is because of fat phobia or something like this. He's absolutely brain dead. But I want to point out a hypocrisy here, and this happens very often, and it is absolutely insane to me how these progressives don't see that this is a complete and total hypocrisy. Okay, or at the very least, it makes their worldview very inconsistent. Okay. If you are Muslim, that's fine. I'm not trying to shit on anybody's religion. But what I do want to point out is, and this happens a lot in the House of Commons, and I know this is an MMA channel, but I pay attention to politics, and I pay attention to Canadian politics. I'm not one of those people that only pay attention to US politics because it doesn't affect me as much. Okay, so I pay attention to my own country's politics. In the House of Commons, from the more progressive wings, right, the Liberal Party, the NDP Party, you will hear this trope. They will go on about all sorts of different minorities, and they will say that we need to stand up for the rights of, and in the literal same sentence, even sometimes in the same breath, right after one another, they will say, We need to look out for the rights of the or actually they say it in the most retarded way possible, okay, because we're retards over here, unfortunately, in our House of Commons. They say, we need to look out for the rights of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community, okay, and Islamophobia. We need to look out for Islamophobia. These are completely contradictory. Progressives drive me nuts with this shit. They have to be tolerant of everybody except for, and we're going to get to it in a minute, white Christians, okay? Which is insane to me because I'll tell you why in a second. You cannot be tolerant of LGB whatever people, okay? And also be tolerant of Islam. And the reason for that is because if you are a homosexual, okay, in an Islamic country, and you are found to be, if there's a witness that claims that they've seen you engage in intercourse with another man or any kind of homosexual act, right? Okay, so Jeff Molina would be fucking offed despite his claim of bisexuality. Okay, he would be fucking offed. They would kill him. It's punishable by death. They are absolutely, Islam, the Muslim community, are not tolerant of LGBTQIA plus people. Okay, and MMA Joey, who finds it disgusting and horrible that there are people who will say make comments towards Israel Adesanya about how feminine that he acts and the way that he dresses and things like this, and then he will also get upset about Islamophobia, which is a complete. I want him to get an interview with Bilal Muhammad, Habib Nurmagomedov, Islam Makhachev, or any of these men, Hamzat Shmaev, and ask them what they think about gay people. Okay? And then I want to know if he'll still defend people or he'll still defend their religion. I can't fathom it. And what I can't fathom is how he'll defend people with that religion. But then when somebody like Holly Holm says something as fucking ambiguous as, we need to protect the kids, he will then make fun of her religion and say that she was probably molested by her preacher dad. Okay, first I want to point out that, again, we'll use the progressives' retarded fucking definition of things here when we're talking about bigotry and phobias and shit like this. Whenever they claim racism, they say that it's not enough for somebody to not like somebody or to whatever based on the color of their skin. You have to have prejudice plus power, which is fucking retarded. But again, we will use it because it works against them, and they don't even realize it because they don't take the time to look shit up. Islam is the largest religion in the world as of 2022. Approximately 1.5 billion members. It's over that. But still, the second largest, Roman Catholic Christians, okay, which is about 1.2 billion. Now, I will say, if you go and you find all of the different like DLC versions of Christianity and combine them all together, you will have one bigger than Islam. But that also includes like Eastern Christianity, which is nothing to do with what we see in the West, nothing to do with Holly Holm and her dad, right? Or whatever. And it's not the same thing. I understand there's different branches, there's different versions, there's DLCs of the Christian religion. We're talking about the one that's most predominant in the West here, though, and it is absolutely the Roman Catholic side, right? Islam's larger than that. Islam is the largest religion in the world to this day. To this day. Okay? Which means, in terms of religion, they have the power. Okay? Which means you can't be bigoted towards them or prejudiced towards them because they have all the power. I also can't understand why at least Christians, dude, hate the sin, not the sinner, right? Isn't that what they say? I'm not religious, dude. I just hear these like talking points from whatever, and then I remember them. But in my understanding, they don't hate gay people, right? Or LGBT people, whatever. They think that they are sinning. They want them to be able to get into heaven, so they want them to like atone for their sins or whatever. Whereas in Islam, they just fucking kill you. If he's so upset about homophobia towards Israel Adesanya, he might want to address the Muslims in the room. Okay? I just can't fucking fathom it. how he can be so stupid and how he can believe that what he is doing is stunning and brave and that nobody else brings these narratives up and he's the only one willing to do so, even though he's going to get shit on, which is fucking garbage and bullshit, and he knows it, dude, and everybody fucking knows it. These are all mainstream talking points. They do this in the House of Commons, man. I mentioned that already, but it's so fucked. You'll hear them say it, and you're like, wait, what? We're supposed to be ultra tolerant and accepting of them, and then also ultra tolerant. That doesn't make sense. They don't. Those two don't mesh. That doesn't make sense. Okay, but then he goes on in another video, and this is all regarding Colby Covington getting a title shot, right? People are still super mad about it, and I'm gonna iterate. Like, I don't think Colby Covington deserves a title shot, but I don't think that it really fucking matters. We've seen plenty of people who are not deserving of title shots get title shots, and it seems like the only reason why people are so upset with this one is because Colby Covington is who Colby Covington is, okay? I would argue... Nah, I'm not even going to bring that up. Dude. First of all, Bilal Muhammad has been guaranteed the next title shot after this fight. They obviously want to book Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards sooner than later, right? Bilal Muhammad just fought on short notice. Why would you then force him to get into a camp so that he can fight in a couple months? Right? I think he would rather sit out. And I think this is something that a lot of people fucking don't think of, dude. The business side of it. And they will hand wave this as like, no, it's not as simple as Colby Covington draws. That's not what it is. He might not draw in the pay-per-view sense, right? Which I don't think he does. I don't think that's a really good argument. I think that he draws in the more mainstream sense, though. On YouTube, there are embedded videos, on Instagram, on shit like this. I think he absolutely draws the casual fan's eyes. What could potentially be going on here, and what none of them will address or talk about, like, actually, Dana White could not be doing this because he wants Colby Covington to beat Leon Edwards, or because Leon Edwards is going to be ultra popular in London, or the UK in general. They could continue to have pay-per-view events there with Leon Edwards as champion that sell out massive arenas and do very well in terms of everything, right? And things like this. What Dana White could potentially be doing is using Colby Covington to help build the star of Leon Edwards. And nobody's willing to even, like, address this hypothetical. Even if it is just a hypothetical. No one's willing to entertain it. When Kamaru Usman beat Tyron Woodley, people weren't overly excited about it. Okay, it was cool because we had never really seen Tyron Woodley get dominated in the way that Kamaru Usman did dominate him. But it was not the most entertaining of fights, and not to me, but to a casual fan. Okay? And Kamaru Usman was not famous, like in the sense that he is now. People didn't really know who he was. And I'm sure there were a lot of casual fans that were irritated because once a fucking dominant wrestler becomes champion, you typically see boring fights after that. The real moment that just absolutely fucking Kamaru Usman was his title defense against Colby Covington. Okay? I think this is objectively true. He had a phenomenal performance, as did Colby Covington. It was a crazy fight. There was no boring wrestling involved. They came out there, they battered each other. And then he finished them in the fifth round. Regardless of what you think of the stoppage, this is what the record shows. I think that fight was a breakout fight for Kamaru Usman. Because then people thought, oh, holy fuck, he can actually be exciting. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like Kamaru Usman's star rose after that fight. And I don't think this is really arguable. And then after that, it seemed as though he became more confident in his striking abilities. Now, we had the boring Jorge Masvidal fight the first time around, right? But you could kind of see that the popularity coincided with that. I know there was a lot of hype around Fight Island. I know they had 3 title fights on that card. I know Jorge Masvidal was at the peak of his star at that moment. That pay-per-view sold 1.3 million buys. Okay? I don't think that was all because of Jorge Masvidal. I think people were now excited. They had became excited, even if it was just a few 100,000. They are now excited to watch Kamaru Usman do what they think Kamaru Usman now does. And then he has a boring fight against Jorge Masvidal. But then he goes out there and he TKOs Gilbert and he KOs Masvidal. And then he has another massive fight with Colby Covington, which is another absolute fucking barn burner, almost instant classic. And again, regardless of how you think that decision should have been made, I think it could have been, I think it's pretty arguable that it was a draw. That was a fantastic fight. And every time he fights Colby Covington, it seems that his star went higher and higher and higher. They could potentially be doing this for Leon Edwards. Leon Edwards was not very well known, was not really cared about by the fans until the head kick of Kamaru Usman. But then his second fight with Usman, and not to me, dude, and probably not to a lot of you guys, but to a casual fan, his second fight with Usman was not the most entertaining. Right? There was never really a moment where you thought somebody was about to get finished. There was never really, it wasn't the most entertaining fight from a casual fan's perspective. So now the UFC might be thinking, Colby Covington seems to make everybody fucking fight his fight, regardless of how well he does. Which is what he did with Kamaru Usman. He negated the wrestling of Usman because he was such a good wrestler, so they decided they were going to fucking try and kill each other. Leon Edwards, at this point in time, is not a massive star. But if he goes out there and gets a fucking finish or has a phenomenal performance over a guy like Colby Covington, fucking gadoosh, dude. You know what I mean? To the moon, my guy. Like, people don't think about, they might not just be doing this because they want Colby Covington to win or they want to do favor to Colby Covington. They might be using this as a catalyst for Leon Edwards' star potential. Okay, and there's a few points that he brings up as to why he thinks Colby Covington does not deserve a title shot, which again I don't agree with. I agree with the point that he doesn't really deserve a title shot, but again I don't really care. And he does what he does in these stupid fucking progressive videos where he gives you a few reasons, he debunks them, and then he gives you the real reason, which he provides no counter argument for whatsoever. Okay, he brings up a bunch of people that he thinks deserve a title shot over Colby Covington, like Jack Della Maddalena. Okay, I love Jack Della Maddalena. I think he is absolutely going to be championship material in the near future. His best win is over Randy Brown. You can't get a title shot off of a win over Randy Brown. And I know that he's scheduled to fight Sean Brady, and I don't even think that a win over Sean Brady would be enough to get a title shot. I don't know what he's ranked right now. He's probably the lower end of the top 15. You can't get a title shot off of that. I'm sorry. Another one that he brings up, which he brought up, this is so funny to me, dude. This is another he's a fucking fat walking contradiction. He probably can't walk. I know people make fun of the MMA guru and say that he's in a wheelchair. I think MMA Joey might actually be in a fucking wheelchair. He's one of those guys you see at Walmart rolling around in their scooters. That's what he is, dude. In the video, though, where he's debunking all these reasons, right, he says, oftentimes people say that the real reason, or that, Colby Covington's best, well, look at his fights against Kamaru Usman. And then he used the Bilal argument. Oh, so he's a good loser, right? And then he gives his reasoning as to why he thinks Kamaru Usman should then get a title shot over Colby Covington. And the reason why is because, pardon me, in his first fight for the title against Leon Edwards, he was winning until he wasn't. Okay? He was winning until he got killed. That's what he said. That's not what he said. That's what I said. That's how my brain interpreted it. He was winning until the head kick. He was winning. He was about to win a decision on the scorecards. And then he says, and in their second fight, I think that that fight should have been a draw, and that because of how close it was with the current champion, you could argue Kamaru Usman deserves the title shot over Colby Covington. Okay, dude, so what he's saying is that he loses good. He's using the same fucking argument for a black man in Kamaru Usman over Colby Covington because he's white, and we think that racism is prominent in the UFC, and that Colby Covington's only getting opportunities because of the color of his skin. Garbage, dude. Garbage. First of all, those two fights, okay, between Usman and Edwards and Colby and Usman are so fucking comparable, it's not even funny. Very close fight on this. Well, actually, not in the one sense. Kamaru Usman was absolutely on his way to a decision victory, whereas Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman, the judges were split. I think one had it 3-1 Colby, 1-3-1 Usman, 1-2-2. Now, Usman was definitely winning that fifth round, so he probably would have won a decision. But Colby Covington, at that point, he was winning on at least one judge's scorecard. So it was a very close fight, and then he gets finished in like the last minute. Leon Edwards fucking killed Kamaru Usman in the last minute of a fight that he was losing. And then they have a fight which people think somehow was a draw, even though I think Leon Edwards arguably won every round. But regardless, dude, a lot of people thought Colby Covington versus Usman was a draw also in their second fight. He also says that a guy like Michel Pereira and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson deserve title shots over Colby Covington, which is fucking retarded. Okay, and then he brings up Khamzat Chimaev. And he says that, well, you know, he did miss weight, so I guess okay. Well, we don't even know where he's fighting next. And he doesn't seem to want to take a fight, so. And then he brings up Shavkat Rakhmonov. Fine, dude. I agree. He could probably get a title shot right now. But people don't, I just bit my own tongue. People don't think about this shit, man. The casual fan does not give a fuck who Shavkat Rakhmonov is. Like, seriously. The casual fan does not give a fuck who Michel Pereira is. The casual fan does not give a fuck who Jack Della Maddalena is. Jack Della Maddalena has like 70,000 Instagram followers. Okay, I'm one of them. But he doesn't have he's not famous, dude. These guys aren't, it should be it should be based on a meritocracy. I agree. That's funny though, because that's not typically a progressive narrative. They don't really like meritocracies. They think that everybody should get boosted up by fucking whatever. Either way, dude. I can't fathom this. There's no way that the reason that the reason Bilal Muhammad does not get the respect he deserves is because of Islamophobia. That might be a very small portion of it. But also, dude, what I will say is this. If your religion and your fan base goes and sends death threats to your opponents like they did Sean Brady, why do you then expect people to respect you or your religion? I don't understand that at all. You know, but he's totally fine completely shitting on Holly Holm for her religion. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, I don't understand, man. It's fucking retarded. It's absolutely insane. Fuck, man. I don't get why this shit is now prominent in our sport. It is mind-blowing to me. It should not be. It'll ruin it. It ruins everything. Okay? You cannot have these two opinions, these two views, that you need to be tolerant towards LGBT people and you need to be tolerant towards Muslims. You can't. You can't. So, this guy's moral compass must be sitting right next to the world's largest magnet. That's how fucking out of whack it is, okay? And he comes up with these insane reasons that are just not. There's no way to prove them, but the problem is there's no way to disprove them. But the problem is, there's multiple problems, apparently, okay? If you're the one making a positive claim, you're the one that needs to provide evidence. You can't make a claim and then say, oh, we'll prove that this didn't happen. That's not how that works, dude. Show me all the Islamophobia. Show me all the homophobia. Show me all the racism that exists. And then show me how it affects these fighters the way that you say it does, okay? Because we went over this with the Israel Adesanya situation. Face of the UFC, one of the most famous fighters, one of the highest paid, all of this shit. Gets preferential treatment. He is loved. John Jones, they literally changed the fucking rules for him. Because he's such a piece of shit and he couldn't stop popping for steroids. Okay? I'm sick of it, dude. Sick of it. I want this shit out of our fucking sport. You cannot argue that Michel Pereira or JDM deserves a title shot over Colby Covington. And again, they're probably doing this to build the star of whoever the fuck wins that fight. Like, I don't understand, dude. Nobody's going to buy a Bilal Muhammad pay-per-view. People like to bring up the fact that Khabib Nurmagomedov had a huge fan base and that it was largely a Muslim fan base, right? Which is probably true. When they would take him to Abu Dhabi, they would schedule the fights to compensate the time over there as opposed to doing it like Western world time. Khabib Nurmagomedov never broke 1 million pay-per-views, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody can prove me wrong if I'm wrong on that. I don't think he was ever a pay-per-view star. Like, their type of fan base does not translate to pay-per-view buys for the UFC. And again, it's not just about that, dude. You're not going to convince a casual fan to just buy a pay-per-view, like, by just telling them how good these guys are. You're going to have to show them somebody like a Colby Covington. You're going to have to show them somebody like a Conor McGregor. You're going to have to show them somebody like a fucking, you know, name super famous fighter. and put them in there. I just can't with this shit, man. It's so disingenuous. It's so intellectually dishonest. And then he gaslights you into saying, or he gaslights you by saying, if you don't agree, you are that thing. If you are somebody that disagrees with this, you are that thing. You need a psychiatrist, all this shit. Again, you fat fuck, you need a dietitian, you need a nutritionist, you need a fucking personal trainer. How does anybody listen to this guy's takes on combat sports? He looks like unironic, like he has never seen the inside of a gym, not once. He looks like he's never been punched in the fucking face either. And I get that I've had people come and say, oh, I didn't realize you were a fan of MMA because I look like a stoner or something, they say. I used to get punched in the face all the fucking time, dude. I kickboxed for a very long time. If I shaved my head, I'd look a lot meaner. You know what I mean? I wouldn't look so like hippy-dippy shit. That guy is fucking morbidly obese and is talking about this sport, and it's pretty clear he has very little to no experience. At least in my opinion. Maybe he's a sumo wrestler. I don't fucking know. But what the fuck, man? He's a fucking retard. Enough of this shit, dude. Enough. Get progressivism the fuck out of MMA, dude. He makes Luke Thomas look like a centrist. This guy. This fucking guy makes Luke Thomas look like a centrist. This fucking guy. This fucking retard named MMA Joey. Fuck this guy, dude. I'm sick of it. Sick of it. Anyways, dude. That's the end of this video. I don't know. I can't stand it. I get that it's probably annoying that I keep talking about it because it's whatever. But first of all, he has more subscribers than me, so hopefully it boosts my views and shit like that. But second of all, I do think that these narratives are totally damaging to our sport. He is literally playing victim for professional fighters. Like, fuck off. Okay? Fuck off. And then, oh, one more thing. Now, this is fucking hilarious too. His fan base will completely defend Bilal Muhammad and Muslims. They will defend Israel Adesanya and all this shit. What I noticed is pretty prevalent though, is they will bring up the fact that Ari Emanuel, who is the like owner of Endeavor or whatever the fuck, right, which owns the UFC, that he is a big Israel guy. And this is why Bilal Muhammad... So they will unironically be anti-Semitic in their fight for justice, right? And then talking about Islamophobia and homophobia and racism and all these other bullshits. But they will say that the reason why is because Ari Emanuel's a big Israel guy. And that's why they won't... They literally said, some dumb fuck in his comments, said the reason why they are no longer allowed to fly the flags is because Ari Emanuel is a big Israel guy, and they didn't want Bilal Muhammad walking out with the Palestine flag. Fucking kill me. Did none of them realize that policy came at the exact same time as the Russia-Ukraine conflict started? Does nobody realize that or what? That was why, dude. They had Russian fighters walking out there that have nothing to do with the situation, getting fucking booed and screamed at and all this shit, and they probably just figured, you know what, it's probably better that we don't fucking... It is what it is, dude. That's why I would just walk out with this flag. It's not a country flag. It's just a fucking statement. But enough. Anyways, dude, that's the end of this video. Like and subscribe. Greatly appreciate it. I'll see you next video. I don't know when it'll be. Probably like Tuesday or Wednesday. Sorry. Anyways, bye.